Hello, everyone. So for today's discussion, I will be discussing about human resource and learning development. Okay. So before we will start this discussion, let me introduce myself first. I am Engineer Marian Munag, um, MSCE with a major of construction engineering and management. Okay. So for the learning and development, in this presentation, I will give you a comprehensive guide in learning or to know the learning and development in human resource management. So we will answer what learning and development is, how to create learning and development strategies, how to evaluate learning and development effectiveness, and we'll make up the learning and development fields. No? So learning and development is one of the core areas of human resource management. So ano nga ba yung learning and development na to? So learning and development is a systematic process to enhance an employee's skills, knowledge, and competency, resulting in better performance in a working setting. So specifically, learning is concerned with the acquisition of knowledge, skills, and attitudes. So yung learning pala natin, it's not just about knowledge, no? So we also learn new things with regards to our skills and also our attitude. So development naman is the broadening and deepening of knowledge in line with the one's development goals. Okay? So the goal of learning and development is to develop or change the behavior of individuals or groups for the better, sharing knowledge and insights that enable them to do their work better or cultivate attitudes that help them perform better. So ito sinabi ni Evans in 2011. Ang goal daw ng learning natin and development is to develop or change the behavior of an individual. So as you learn and develop, yung behavior daw ng isang individual ay nag-change into a better, of course, better person. No? So for the learning and development, we have the learning, training, and development are often used interchangeably. However, there are subtle differences between these concepts, which as shown below. So we have four here. First, we have the learning. It is the acquisition of knowledge, skills, and attitudes through experience, study, or teaching. So training, development, and education all involve the learning. And then we have the training. So under training, it is aimed at teaching immediately applicable knowledge, skills, and attitudes to be used in a specific job. Training may focus on delivering better performance in the current role or to overcome future changes. So pinaghahanda lang sarili mo to overcome the future changes. Let's say, for example, the future changes in your institution, something like that. No? Then we have the development. Development is aimed at the long term, and it revolves around the broadening or deepening of your knowledge, of the knowledge of an individual. So these has to fit within one's personal development goals and the future goals of the organization. And development usually happens voluntarily. So you volunteer to develop yourself, no? So usually, ganun daw yung nangyayari dito under sa development. So totoo nga, hindi ka naman makaka-develop ng new learnings, new knowledge, or hindi mo ma-develop into a better you, yung attitude mo, if you don't do it voluntarily. And the fourth one, we have the education. Education is more formal way to broaden one's knowledge. And education is often non-specific and applicable for a long time and is specifically relevant when a person has little experience in a certain area. So as for me, in industry, so konti lang yung experience ko in industry. So parang itinatransform ko siya or kumukuha ako ng knowledge through education. No? So in the next slide, we'll dive into how learning and development can be leveraged in an organization. So paano ba to nagiging leverage, no, in an organization? So according to Dave Ulrich, the most important thing HR can give an employer is a company that wins in the marketplace. So the question is, what are the learning and development strategies that help to do this? So we have here a figure or a learning design. So this one is a useful model that guides a learning and development strategy that is created by Van Wilder and his colleagues. Its original name translates to pedagogical analysis. No? So based on this model, we identify 4 phases required to create an effective learning and development process. So first is an analysis of training needs or the starting situation, or what we call the prior knowledge. No? Second is the specification of learning objectives. So you need to specify what are the learning objectives. And then third are the design of training content and method. Ano ba yung inclusive dun sa training na yon? Ano ba yung method na gagamitin mo to train that individual? And fourth, the monitoring and evaluation. Ano ba yung naging output or outcome or naging epekto ng training, yung content and method of training na nagawa dun sa individual na nag-attend ng training na yon, no? And then they evaluate kung ano yung outcome na to. An effective learning and development strategy relies on a process in which one continually moves through these 4 phases. So let's examine these 4 phases one by one. So phase 1, the analysis of training needs. The first step is an analysis of training or the starting situations and prior knowledge to identify training needs. So ano na ba yung nalalaman ng individual na to? Pag nalaman natin kung ano na yung mga prior knowledge niya, we will know them kung ano pa yung kailangan niyang malaman. So yun yung mga kailangan natin i-identify dito. We don't want employees to learn for the sake of learning. Otherwise, we would be happy to send them in a pottery course. So instead, we want employees to acquire new knowledge, skills, and attitudes that are relevant for their future functions. This kind of learning is a way to create new business capabilities. So in other words, learning is a means to an end and it has some goals. So hindi naman hindi naman natin ila-learn kung wala tayong ila-learn yung isang bagay kung wala tayong goals, diba? So example of goals could be the development of digital capabilities in an analog firm that needs to transform, building analytical capabilities to create more business value through analytics, or simply making sure that everyone gets their mandatory certification in time so they can continue to do their work. So under phase 1, we have what we call the value chain of learning. No? In identifying the learning goals requires you to analyze where the organization wants to go and what skills are missing to go there. So this happens in 3 parts. First, we have the employee learning, or here, nandyan yung HR efforts natin. Second is the HR outcomes or the competency. So under dyan yung knowledge, skills, and attitudes ng isang individual. And third is the business impact or the organizational capabilities. So by using these 3 analyses, training goals can be specified. However, it is important to ensure there is sponsorship and support within the organization for this kind of initiatives. So for the organizational analysis, in this phase, the short and long-term goals of the organization are analyzed. So the goal is to define the training needs that will help the company really realize its business goals. And second, for the function test or competency analysis, besides the identified organizational needs, it is important to look at the function or task level. So what are the competencies and skills required to be successful in one's job? So the goal here is to identify the most important knowledge, skills, and attitudes for employees to be successful in their jobs and to identify which of these are the easiest to learn. And third, for the personnel analysis, in this analysis, job performance is evaluated. So current competencies and knowledge, performance, and skills levels are identified. The key source for this analysis is oftentimes the employee's performance evaluation. So ina-evaluate nila ang performance ng employees. So in our institution, in academe, I think this happens, the evaluation happens every semester, no? So the outcome of this analysis serves as input for the definition of the training needs for the HR to know kung ano yung mga kailangang i-train para dun sa individual na yun. Phase 2, so the specification of learning objectives. So according to Levens, a training objective consists of 3 elements. So first, the ability to realize specific objectives. So for example, as an HR business partner, I need to be able to identify a manager's strategic people needs. So yun yung ability niya. Kailangan niyang malaman kung ano yung, or kailangan niya ma-identify what are the manager's strategic or people needs. No? Next, the conditions required for effective behavior. For example, during the 30-minute check-in with managers, I need to be able to identify their strategic people needs and be able to summarize this to them to check if I identify these needs correctly. So yun yung conditions required for effective behavior. No? And then third, we have a specific and measurable things, training goals. For example, after every check-in with a manager, I have a double check the top 3 of these managers' strategic properties. Next, we move to phase 3, the design of the training material and method. So in this phase, the teaching material and learning method are determined. So this is where the choices about the training material, teaching method, and learning activities are made. So this is often done together with external trainer or training provider, and ideally also with involvement from the trainee. So training can be trainer-centered or trainee-centered. So meron pala tayong dalawang klase ng training. So first, trainer-centered methods. So this includes seminars, presentations, lectures, keynotes, and lessons. While the second one is trainee-centered. So our most interactive and include case studies, role-playing, self-direct lessons, on-the-job training, simulation games, and so on. So effective training usually includes a mix of methods. So the effective daw, mini-mix nila yung methods na to, the trainer-centered and trainee-centered methods. So we have what we call the methods of learning here. So we have 11 methods of learning, the lectures and seminars, discussion groups, debate, case study and projects, experiential activities, role-playing, simulation or games, job shadowing, outdoor management development, coaching, and mentoring. So first, we define what we do in lectures and seminars. As you can see in the picture, parang nasa isang lecture sila. So may presentation sa harap, no? So lecture and seminars is more formal setting, often used in universities with the lecturer and students. And this setting inhibits interaction. So may interaction sa ganitong klase ng learning natin. No? Next, we have the discussion groups. It is highly interactive setting aimed at sharing viewpoints. So nag-share tayo ng ideas when we are using this kind of, this method of learning under the discussion group. So sharing of ideas, sharing of inputs, and then combine these ideas na napag-usapan. Then we have the debate. It is highly interactive setting aimed at convincing others of one viewpoint. So different sides yan, left and right, different viewpoints. So under debate, pinag-argue nila kung ano ba dapat, which is which, what is what. So yun yung under sa debate natin. Next method is the case study and projects. These actively involve the participant and activate them to come up with solutions and answers. So hindi lang abot nag-sharing ng ideas or nag-brainstorming yung under dito sa method of learning na to, no? So they need to come up with a solution and answer. Next, we have the experiential activities. So this involves active participation and are often used in team building. And then we have the role play. Role play is acted out or performed, for example, as a technique to train customer interaction. Simulation or games, an increasingly popular and highly interactive way of experimental learning. With the rise of virtual and augmented reality, this can be made very realistic. Okay? And then we have job shadowing. Job shadowing is working with another employee who has different experience to learn from them. So you are working with another employee with different experience as you. This is a good way to learn and exchange ideas. Then we have the OMD, or the Outdoor Management Development. So it is a form of experiential activities. So a 2001 study by Hamilton and Cooper showed that this could be effective. Okay, so we have next coaching. Coaching focuses on hand-on skill development. So the coach is often allocated and is the driving force in here. So siya yung nagbibigay ng ideas or nagko-coach or nag-explain ng procedure kung paano gawin. The coachee follows and learns. And then we have mentoring. So under mentoring, it is more strategic. So the mentor is chosen by the mentee and the process is also driven by the mentee. So mentoring goes beyond skills. So ano nga ba, minsan napag-papalit natin, or nako-confuse tayo kung ano yung difference ng coaching and mentoring. So ano nga ba ang difference ng coaching and mentoring? So a mentor is someone who shares their knowledge, skills, or experience to help another to develop and grow. So sinishare niya yung knowledge and experience niya to help others grow. While a coach is someone who provides guidance to a client on their goals and help them reach their full potential. So see, coach is a guide, while mentor is a sharer. So those mentions are some of the most common methods in learning in a organization. So one of the key themes when it comes to learning and development is learning effectiveness. A key question often asked to the learning and development professional is, what is the return on learning? Or how effective are our learning programs? So these questions are hard to answer. So as we can see in this given figure, meron tayong corporate dilemma, part of this kind of dilemma. Sabi ng isa, what if we train them and they leave? Paano kung iti-train natin sila tapos umalis naman sila? Sabi naman nitong si isa, what if we don't and they stay? So parang pinag-iisipan pinala kung kailangan ba nilang i-train yung mga individual nito para sa organization nila. So iniisip nila na pag tinrain nila sila, pag na-acquire na nila yung knowledge and skills na to, aalis na sila sa organization nila. Paano daw kung wag na nilang i-train para mag-stay sila, maka-acquire sila ng knowledge on their own in this organization? So yun yung dilemma na palaging nangyayari. So however, the effectiveness of learning remains a contentious topic. So yun lang yung part ng report ko under the learning and development. So thank you for listening. Now let's hear about our next topic, which is assessing the HRD needs by Engineer Ronquillo. Thank you.
Now let's go to assessing HRD needs. So these are the references. Ayan. And I am Engineer Jinpei Ronquillo. So the outline for this report, why assess HRD needs? The definition and goal, what needs assessment can identify, the HRD process, types of needs, tropes, levels of assessments. Let's go with why assess HRD needs. So every work requires good qualification to the task, or in other words, a qualification is a quality or accomplishment that makes someone suitable for a particular job or activity, no? So if the person doing the task is not qualified and cannot meet the requirements, of course, it will cause a problem. Simple example of this is may na-hire na mason sa isang project, sa isang construction project, and yung mason is sa totoo pala hindi nagkaroon ng experience sa paglelay ng hollow block. So, nung pinagawa sa kanya yung task, nag-cause or possible nag-cause ng problem because dahil inexperienced siya for that task, nag-create siya ng or nakapag-layout siya ng hollow blocks nang hindi tama yung pagkakagawa. So, it is possible na tanggalin na lang ulit lahat yon and paggawa sa may skill talaga to lay ng hollow blocks. And also, yung problem is nasayang or there is a waste of money, time, and other things, no? So next, we have the definition. So HRD needs assessment can be defined as determining the gap, yung gap between what are the capabilities of the current employee and what is required to do. So the goal is, kapag na-determine mo na yon, is to diagnose the performance requirements of the organization that can be improved through training and document the expertise required to perform in the workplace. Ayun. So, marami tayong ma-identify sa needs assessment, but some are listed here. So, first is organization's goals and its effectiveness in reaching this goal. So, yung organizational goals kasi are strategic objectives that a company or organization management establishes to outline yung expected outcomes and also to guide employees' efforts. So, syempre, dun papasok yung effectiveness. Next, we have the gaps between employees' skills and the skills required for effective current job performance. So, ibig sabihin nun, at present, ano ba yung qualification ni employee? And then, ano ba yung qualification na kailangan sa isang task? So dahil alam mo na yung dalawang yon, sa assessment, malalaman mo yung gap nila. Okay? Next is, tulad lang na kanina, but in comparison with the skills needed to perform the job successfully in the future. Kung ano naman ba yung gap ng qualifications ni employee ngayon versus sa kung ano yung requirement para sa future. Next, malalaman din sa needs assessment the conditions under which the HRD activity will occur. So there are steps to conduct an effective skills gap analysis para dito sa second and dito sa third. Ayan. So, syempre, we have to plan the analysis. Lagi namang sa lahat naman ng bagay, we are starting with planning. And with that planning, malalaman natin through our gathering of information is madedefine natin yung organization's future goals. So, next, after that, we can catch up the future of work trends, determine key skills needed for the future, measure the current skills, find out where the gaps are, and put your findings into action. An example of this is nung nagkaroon bigla ng pandemic and everything or almost ng ating mode of communication and delivery, especially in teaching, is through the technology platforms, through the use of technology platforms. So, before mag-start yung class, nagkaroon tayo ng analysis kung ano yung future goal natin, so to deliver na online. And then, ano yung mga future work trends, yung paggamit nga ng technology-based na platforms. And then yung skills na needed for that is maging, yun nga, marunong ang mga gagamit ng mga platforms na to, even though wala talaga silang idea. And then, syempre, bago mo bigyan ng reinforcement to meet that requirement, we have to measure yung current skills. Sino ba yung nahihirapan sa ganito? Ano bang platform ang gagamitin? And then, ano bang platform ang gagamitin? Ano ba ang requirement? And then, after that, mapa-find out natin yung gaps. And after finalizing everything, we can do or we can put our findings into action na or our steps. Yan. So, this is the HRD process, a DEnM. So, tinawag siyang DEnM. Design, implementation yung IM, and then evaluation yung E. So, in this process, I will cite an example for the flow. So, an example of this is a design or calculation company that their service is to provide a complete calculation or detailed calculation of steel connection. So, yung service na pinoprovide nila is yung complete and detailed computation ng bawat connection, either bolt or weld or any type of connection ng mga steel na structure, no? Ngayon, at present, they are using Excel or Microsoft Excel where it is programmed lang ng with the simple operations of Excel. And they are experiencing bugs kasi sobrang haba ng mga calculations nila. And then, dahil sa sobrang haba, nagkakaroon ng bugs kapag continuous na yung pag-process ng calculation. So, yung calculation na yon is designed for all calculations of a certain connection or different connections na kung saan magpapalit ka na lang ng mga data na pwedeng mapalitan. Kasi ulit-ulit din naman yung process niya. Kaya naisip nilang gumawa ng calculation templates. Ang goal nila is after 2 years is makapag-develop sila ng application na pwede nilang iparent o kaya ibenta and also gamitin ng company using those existing templates. So yung i-develop nila na application is more advanced. Kasi ang application na yon, it consists, yun nga, yung mag-i-input ka na lang ng mga forces na naka-apply doon. At the same time, yung mismong drawing is nag-a-adjust kung ano yung output nung nasa application at ready to print na lang siya. So, assess needs. To assess the needs, yung qualification ng mga employees versus dun sa needs for the formulation of that application. So, yung qualification nila, hindi pa sila ganun kagaling mag-program, and also yung template naman nila is ready na. And then yung requirement ng pag-formulate ng application is yun nga, marunong mag-program, and hindi siya mapoprogram ng basta programmer kasi kailangan ng guidance nung gumawa ng template. So, prioritize needs, ano yung needs niya, and then with that, everything that I have discussed, nandoon na yung objective niya, yung after 2 years, ma-formulate nila yung application na yon. Develop lesson plan kasi hindi naman agad-agad dahil application ang pinoproduce mo, hindi naman agad-agad ay after one trial is okay na siya. So, kailangan magkaroon ng lesson plan na kung saan sa area na to, ito ang gagawin, sa area na to, ganito yung gagawin. Especially when as a certain task to develop this application has a prerequisite ng previous task. And then develop or acquire materials. So ano yung materials na kailangan? Yung mga resources, compliant ba siya sa mga standards and codes, and also yung mga software or applications na kailangan. And then select trainer or leader. Siyempre dun sa mga gagawa ng application na yon and also gagamit ng application na yon, dahil bagong goal pa lang siya, they are expected na hindi sila aware how to do the task and also how to use the application. So, magkakaroon ng trainer or leader na with qualifications dun sa ginagawa nilang pino-formulate nilang application. And then select methods and techniques. So marami daw na organization ang nag-fail for the improvement of their employees because they do not assess kung ano ba yung applicable na methods or techniques na kailangan or na yun nga, applicable sa mga employees. Hindi porket nagbigay ka ng training, okay na. So you have to assess kung ano yung kailangan nila and also kung anong technique or method yung mas mapapadali sa kanila para ma-adapt nila yung tinuturo sa kanila. And last one, kapag natapos mo na lahat ng study na yon, you have to schedule the program or intervention, the implementation na nun. So, the implementation, deliver the HRD program or intervention. Siyempre, when you are designing, parang pine-predict mo na yung magiging mangyayari and also the output. So, with the defined objectives for the evaluation, you have to create or select the evaluation criteria. So, for example, ang evaluation mo is sa training ba na pinrovide mo, natutunan nila na kahit sila lang without the help of a consultant, kaya na nilang i-formulate yung other parts of the application using the training na siguro nag-formulate sila na isang part ng application. Determine evaluation design, of course, after mo kasing sinelect yung mga criteria, doon mo na ipo-formulate yung evaluation mo. And then, conduct evaluation of program or intervention. So, doon mo na rin ika-conduct yung pag-evaluate. So, with this example, ang pag-evaluate is based on the output of yung on-act output ng mga na-train. Kasi, for example, binigyan sila ng task to do the other parts of the programming with the help nga ng mga nag-formulate ng template na yon. So, group sila. Mako-compare kung yung output ng application ay same dun sa existing spreadsheet na pinormulate nila sa Excel. And then, after that, we can interpret the results. Siyempre, kung first trial lang, we are expecting din na hindi ganun ka smooth yung result na mapoproduce. So, you will go back to the assessment of needs na kung saan yung gap ulit, yung bagong gap, siyempre, mas malaki naman yung possibility na kumonti yung gap and then uulit lang siya hanggang sa magkaroon na ng satisfaction or ma-meet na yung goal ng organization. Ayun. So next is, what is a HRD need? So, sa madaling sabi, it is a discrepancy between expectations and performance. So, yun ang kailangan i-fill up na gap. Yan. So, now let's go to the types of needs. So sa the types of needs, we have performance. Yan yung dinidiscuss natin kanina na kung ano yung current na qualification niya na lumilitaw sa kanyang performance versus or yung gap sa required na performance niya dapat. Next is we have diagnostic, no? So kailangan din natin to kasi these are the factors which can prevent problems from occurring. So it is normal or sanay na tayo na bago pa mag-occur yung problem, na way out na natin. Na mag-o-occur siya at kung ano yung mga possible diagnose na pwede natin i-apply. Next, we have analytic. Ito, pumapasok ito to identify new or better ways to do things, especially ngayon, no? Napaka-bilis ng ating application ng technology. Kaya, yung mga ways mo at present, it is possible na in the future is mas mapapadali pa. Next, we have compliance. Siyempre, everything that we are doing must be compliant or mandated by law or regulation. Even though it is our goal to have needs assessment, there are also traps. So one is focusing only on individual performance deficiencies. So kapag kasi nag-focus ka lang dyan, it does not fix group of systematic problems. So it is also established performance standards, which is very time consuming siya, no? Kasi iisa-isahin mo sila. And then we have unrealistic standards which can hamper motivation. And also it can lead to mistrust between workers. So next we have, starting with training needs assessment. So bakit ka ba magkakaroon ng assessment if it is obvious that kailangan na ng training? Kasi you will just waste time of others or everyone's time na. Next, we have using questionnaires. So this trap depends on the type of organization and also the assessment that is being conducted, no? So, in using questionnaires, more probably, it is hard to control yung mga input and then often high developmental costs and hard to write properly. Next, we have using soft data or opinions only. So, need performance and consequence data. And last one, we have using hard data. Easily measured data is provided, but critical, hard to measure data is missing. Next, we have levels of assessment. Syempre, even if it is an organization, there are levels that need to be assessed for this. So, first one, we have organizational analysis. So training needs can be diagnosed by analyzing yung organizational outcomes and looking at future organizational needs. So yung present at saka yung outcome niya at present and yung needs niya in the future. A part of planning for training is the identification of the knowledge, skills, and abilities that will be needed ngayon nga and then sa future din. Of both the jobs and the organizational or organization needs. Next, we have task analysis. So sa task analysis, it is a detailed study of a job to identify the specific skills required. So understanding shortcomings in performance usually requires knowledge about the task and work environment as well as the employee. Siyempre, when doing a task, hindi lang basta si employee yung i-assess mo because yun nga, doing such task involves yung environment niya, especially yung mga factors na pwedeng maka-affect tulad ng kung kailangan niyang gumamit ng equipment or other things. Last, we have person analysis. Person analysis helps to identify employee who need training Employees who need training, that is whether employees' current performance or expected performance indicates a need for training. So person analysis also helps determining employees' readiness for training. So dahil person analysis na siya, yung performance niya and also yung gap between sa performance niya to the required qualification dun sa task ay kailangan nating ma-analyze. Next, we have person analysis. No? So, it determines training needs for specific individuals based on many sources of data and summary analysis with diagnostic analysis. So, in performance appraisal in person analysis, it is relied on heavily in person analysis. It is hard to do. It is vital to company and individual, should be very confidential and based too often on personal opinion. Parang kasing ibibase mo yun sa evaluation ng mga iba. So we have the employee appraisal process. So the summary of this, you have to determine the basis of for appraisal, conduct the appraisal, determine the discrepancies between the standard and performance, identify sources of discrepancies, and select ways to resolve discrepancies. So ito yung appraise individual employees performance. So doon natin ma-identify yung discrepancy. So dito, syempre, we have to compare individuals, behavior, and traits to other behavior and traits or to an ideal, yung ating qualification na. Next nun, sa pag-identify ng discrepancy, we will determine the sources of discrepancy. Dito, integrate information from organization, job, and person analysis. So meron tayong tinatawag na internal factors at external factors. So dun sa internal, motivational deficiency and knowledge, skill, or ability deficiency. But with the external factors, these are the inadequate equipment and adverse conditions. So after that, we can select the intervention. So prioritizing HRD needs. There are never enough resources available, so know what to prioritize. Siyempre, parang ano lang yan, pagbabudget ng isang task or next move, lalo na sa mga ganitong development ng ating HR. Kasi, ginagastusan natin yan. And also, yung need ng para ma-fill up yung gap na yon is ano ba yung mga available na resources. Next, needful organizational involvement in this process. So, last one, involve an HRD advisory committee. So, si HRD advisory committee ang magbibigay ng advices to solve the current or possible issues na may encounter. So, ano ba yung masasagot mo after all this? Did the organization perform better? Did the work process perform better? And did the individuals or group perform better? So from the research that I have or from my reference, ang advice niya, HRD must respond to corporate needs, and also HRD should be focused on performance improvement and not just training. So kahit bigay ka na ng bigay ng training, kung hindi naman nag-i-improve yung performance nila it's just a waste of time, money, and effort. So that's the end of our report.